Recognize that your mental health is so important. If you don't, then I promise you'll be so distorted. Stiffened by your thoughts, that's a mental rigor mortis. I'm on a hard mission and it won't be aborted. Assorted memories will seem to be your remedy, but in your darkest hour, form into your enemies. Trust your gut, judge people off their energy. Cut them off quick and fast, they are limiting.
You're listening to the Expect Effect podcast, where the concept of self-care is our primary focus. Consider this an acknowledgement of feeling the birth of every great idea within you. This is your weekly dose of me time, and I'm your host. It's just Nikia. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, for continuing to put focus on self, and for just listening to a project that started on my phone in my closet and has had an immense and amazing opportunity to grow in a very short period of time. So I'm super excited to see where we go next. But most importantly, I'm super excited to see where you go next. What's next in your journey? What's happening in your world? The way you conquer the rocks life throws at you, if you will, the way you overcome certain turmoil and just continue to rise above every occasion. If no one has said it to you recently, I'm very proud of you. I think you're an amazing human being. I think you have phenomenal potential, and I think we are all shooting for something bigger than ourselves, no matter how complicated or complex that may seem, and you are worth every second spent determining what it is that truly makes you happy and how to properly pursue your passions. Listen, we know that life is hard, but we believe that self-care doesn't have to be. So sit back, relax, and unwind as we together uncover ways to truly expect better, do better, and believe better. Man, listen, if you haven't heard our other two episodes that we have Washed, and the series creator of Washed, Jared Couch, with us on that episode. We're talking about overcoming your creative obstacles and boundaries and struggles. You're also going to hear our weekly wind down segment there. And I'm going to have, I guess, a little bit of an emotional rant and tirade. I probably do sound a little winded, in that episode. And for that, I do apologize. We're just adjusting and working through a few things right now, but we've got some amazing things coming up. And I'm just excited for you to continue tuning in. And then we have an additional bonus style episode with Alicia Haskett, not Harris. Lord, I was probably thinking of Camellia Harris, and just going through a lot of things there. You know, this election season can be stressful, but we're there with Alicia Haskett of O Experience, and I think you're really going to just dive into and wrap yourself in, for women that are listening, especially women of color, everything that she presented in terms of how to really embrace what sexiness means for you and defining that on your own terms and creating a lane that you're truly comfortable with, and knowing that everything that you perceive to be in terms of your own confidence, you know, that's something that you're able to create within your own realm. And then on this episode, we're here with the creator, owner, CEO, head, we'll just say HNIC. How about that? Of No Definition Clothing. That's KNOW, No Definition Clothing. And we are talking about, when it comes to success, are you truly down for whatever? Ambitionz as a Ridah. When I think about Tupac and everything that he was as an activist, as an artist, as a man, there was always this deep, deep sense of ambition and hustle and drive. So I think plenty have a desire to be successful, but when it's time to put, those well thought out plans, we'll say, into overdrive, they suddenly find themselves unable to leave park, right? Without warning, the world is seemingly moving ahead of them. So how do we ensure that the demons we aspire to, beat, the things we aspire to overcome, and also the dreams we aspire to achieve, go past existing only in our heads and become a reality? reality. First, we need to learn to master the little things. If you're unable to successfully tackle the small task you have in front of you, then you cannot possibly expect to successfully tackle more daunting tasks. If you don't learn to clean up your schedule, to make yourself be consistent, to remain close in relationship, to do whatever it is you've set out for you in way of a goal, right now, then there's no way you're going to handle the bigger projects that come ahead, right? They're just going to beat you up. They're going to throw you down. Life is really going to come at you because you're going to have no gauge, no preparation, and nothing that you've previously completed. It's important that you have a track record that goes alongside your success. So have a habit of finishing, have a habit of achieving, and have a habit of tackling those small goals. And that leads to the second thing, which is the art of relentless goal setting. It's been said successful people have a tendency to break down larger milestones, even ones that seem impossible, into smaller and more bite-sized manageable ones, right? It's kind of like when you had to eat vegetables as a kid and they maybe coated it in something or hid it in something and gave it to you in more, of a reasonable portion size, or said, hey, you only have to eat this much broccoli today. Can you do that for me? Because there's going to be a bigger reward and a bigger payoff in the end. And you pictured yourself eating that ice cream or that candy bar or running in the park or whatever you were going to do that day after you finished your dinner or lunch with that particular meal. And you really, really focused in. And I know you would sit and imagine what it would be like if you could just get to that thing. And on some days you would sit and you would mope in front of your plate and you weren't really going to get into that. You weren't going to dive any further. You weren't trying to allow yourself to eat that because you knew you didn't like it. You wanted what was on the other side, but you weren't willing to take on this bite-sized goal, this really manageable goal of eating the vegetable to get what you want. And that may seem very far-fetched to some of you, but it's truly that simple. Sometimes the discipline, right, is all that stands between you and your goal weight. Sometimes prioritization is all that stands between you and ensuring that your work life and home life are properly balanced and aren't clashing. Sometimes the only thing standing in the way of improvement within your relationship is communication, and you're not willing to do it. But in layman's terms, we're often tackling very simple tasks when we should be embracing them and really running with the art of relentless goal setting and say, once I get past this thing, then I have the opportunity to not only get past the next thing, but get even closer to the things that I desire. The third thing I would say is to remain open to collaboration and failure, right? You are amazing, but in any instance, I promise you can't do it all alone. Additionally, every good idea won't actually turn out to be a good idea, and that's okay. You are okay. Take that L as a lesson and stop stressing. It's okay to acknowledge when an idea didn't work out, when a business plan doesn't work out, or when things don't seem to go your way. I know sometimes we have a terrible habit of getting caught up in the art of comparison. So we realize what's going on with everybody else, and we take pride in being able to compete and be at the levels we see others around us achieving. And it really hurts us when we feel like we're not also getting that same shine. But I implore you to simply relax. What's for you cannot miss you by any means. There will be active moments in which it seems like the world is working against you and you alone. But I promise you, every idea, even though it isn't a good idea, is one that you got out, right? It's one you took a creative leap with. It's one that you were able to learn from and inevitably grow from if properly embraced, okay? And knowing that you need to be open to collaboration, having a tight inner circle is super, super important. The world is a cold, cruel, and jacked up place. I know because I used to be a very cold, cruel, and jacked up person. So I understand how reckless and aggressive life can be. Life has also been very reckless and aggressive with me. So it's important that you have people in your corner that can further solidify the person you are and help you become the person you desire to be. It's important that you have people that stress you doing the right things, the good things that push you to keep your to-do list and hold you accountable in your own right. And finally, you need to work, okay? Work, and work some more. As a singer who used to, I don't even remember her name, can't quite say I know who she is anymore, but she had a song like that, and I believe Drake was there. I hear she's into fashion and makeup and things like that now. But there was a message in that song, and ultimately, when it comes down to work, you got to understand there's no room for excuses, only execution. Some sacrifices required on this journey are not for the faint of heart. So if you can't hang, if you cannot handle it, then maybe you shouldn't pursue it, or rather, you shouldn't pursue it in this season. Consider a redirection. Consider a change of heart. Consider just going back to the drawing board and maybe saying the whole thing doesn't need to change, but aspects of this do. And when you embrace those things, when you learn to master the little things, the art of relentless goal setting, when you remain open to collaboration and failure, and you put in the applicable work, right? You're going to then be able to define your brand. You're going to know exactly what it takes. You're going to know that you have the ambitions as a Ridah when it comes to success, and that you are truly down for whatever when it comes to achieving your dreams and your purpose and doing whatever makes you happy. This week, we're stepping into full effect with the creator, the CEO, again, one time for the one time, the HNIC. We're doing it for the culture with the creator of No Definition Clothing. Man, y'all, if you're not praying for me, please do. Help somebody align my chakras, write a book. Somebody, just one day, me and the English language are going to sit down. We're going to have a nice meeting, and it's really going to be all right. But until that moment, sit back, relax, and unwind. We've got one advertisement coming your way, and then we are back with the creator of No Definition right after this.
Hello, my name is Charlisha Renata. I am the owner and designer of No Definition, which is a pro-Black women's streetwear brand.
I really, really love that you're here. One, just because I have streetwear aspirations of my own. Also, like you said, this is a pro-Black clothing line. Tell me what led you to the creation of No Definition. When we do say a pro-Black clothing streetwear line, how did that come about?
Well, my clothing line actually was a phase, and basically this is a journey of life for me. I started out modeling about 15 years ago, and I came into doing photography from that. And during my photography time, I was thrifting and wanting to create looks for photo shoots, and it led me into sewing, which led me into making clothes for myself. And I love comfort. I've never been very prissy, so I just started to do streetwear, and I made something for my blog, and people asked for it, and it took off from there.
I really love what you said about it just being a phase, an original hobby. So you started off as a model, went into photography, and then clothing. When you mentioned, you're not being very prissy, and that's kind of my style also. When you were in the industry of modeling, was there anything there that kind of led you and made you think that eventually this might be something you do?
I think it was before modeling. I've always loved fashion. I've been a stylish kid. My parents are stylish. So fashion has always been something I wanted to do. When I was younger, I wanted to own a boutique. I didn't consider myself being a designer, but I did want to sell clothes. So
I really like the point you made there. You didn't consider yourself a designer. What was that shift like for you? Because for the longest time, when I thought about designing clothes, I was like, I don't know how to sew. Like, I don't know, type of thing. When you think about designers, I always felt like they were just a pedestal above me versus being aspirational about this thing.
my definition of a designer is someone who may start a fashion designer is someone who looks at or applies things to clothes that's just different or original. I don't believe that a designer needs to know how to sew. I just believe they need to see clothing and fashion differently from everyone else.
That's some, like, man, I don't know, that almost tripped me up in thought, even in just hearing it, because I think one of the things that I've always heard is when I think about designing or putting together clothes was feeling like I didn't qualify until it was saying like, this is just me putting a unique spin on something. If I have a designer outline I think looks great on a black shirt, then that qualifies me, right? So I'm creating something. What was the point you realized that you were willing truly to do anything, not even at the level of no definition? That's one stage, but as a model, as a photographer, for these different phases that you've been through, what allowed you to say and truly pour yourself into those projects? Or is no definition kind of one of the first things to get all of you?
No definition is one of the first things to get all of me. I decided to focus solely on no definition about 3 years ago when I was consulting for other businesses. And I wanted to be able to prove that I can build a brand before I stated to other people that I knew how to build a brand. I know how, but I haven't done it. So I wanted to be able to do it. So I decided to stop taking clients and stop doing photography and focus on building a brand from nothing.
I love that, because one question I was going to ask you, like literally a direct follow up, how was that defining and building your brand, the structure, the creation? Like, it is not easy, especially when you think about social media algorithms, to one, put something out that's going to catch people's attention, and two, be different from something we've already seen.
Well, it was levels to it, actually. When I first started No Definition, as I've said it before, it was from a blog post I did where I was just sharing, thrifted stuff and stuff I've sewn. It evolved from just me sharing things that I made in my DIY projects to being a pro-Black brand, because I looked into myself and I realized I was the face of the brand and what is important to me as a person. And that's what I want to share with the world. So for me to build my brand and to establish what my brand was, it was, what aspects of me do I want people to know about, and what am I truly passionate about to share with everyone?
That is, man, I don't even have words for that, but also the recognition that you are the brand and that you have so much potential to feed into that and grow into that. Do you think, it's not even a matter of think. Self-confidence obviously plays into how we're able to present our brand and how we're able to connect and engage with other people. What are some ways that your self-confidence has been impacted, or that you found that you've grown throughout this experience?
I used to second guess myself. My husband is my sounding board, and it would be times when I would ask him for advice, and he would look at me and say, "You know the answer." I think it boils down to just being yourself and being unapologetic and being able to not worry about what other people think about you in order to do what you need to do. So my confidence has grown over this course
Absolutely,
because I
absolutely. And just
am learning how to not worry about what other people think of me, because I know what I stand for.
know what you stand for. No definition clothing. She said, I know what I stand for. That's really powerful. What is the biggest takeaway, like you've had from this whole experience, start to finish, when you were doing your first order to where you are now?
Consistency is very important. Being able to be proud in what you offer and knowing that you're putting your best into it so that your customers get the best from you. I think that is the biggest takeaway that I've had so far, even with this journey with Mask. It's been a ride, but I know that I've been trying to give my customers the most that I can give them at this time.
Which is wild, and I think really, really insightful and important that you mentioned that you did get into the mask game.
Can you repeat
How did
that?
you make Oh, yeah, I apologize. So I think it's really, really wild and also very important that you did get into the mask game. What made you decide, like, because I'm sure any clothing line could say, okay, we're going to do mask. But what really led you to say, like, okay, this is, I think, the move we should make during this time?
Um, Actually, a friend of mine who's a nurse asked on Facebook for people to sew masks for her and her coworkers because they were in desperate need. At that time, I didn't know how to make a mask. And I text her and I said, what do you need? What are the requirements? And she said, we don't care as long as we have something to cover our face. So I found a pattern and I made one. I shared it online on my social media page, and requests for more masks start coming in, and I felt like, everyone wants to feel protected right now. So I decided to make them available to purchase.
Yeah, I mean it's an easy avenue, but it's one that with anything has to be done correctly. So even the way you've marketed it, the way that you told the story of its creation, all of that plays into making sure that it's done effectively. And the fact that you're a business owner that says, I don't just care about the bottom line or my agenda, but making sure that the people who are buying into my brand and everything that I believe for feel like we've still got them during this time. So I really appreciate
Right.
you sharing that piece of insight. And a little shorter format this week, so thank you guys for bearing with me. But in closing, what is just like one piece of advice you would give to anybody who says, like, I want to go after this, I want to be relentless, I want to believe in myself, I want to feel everything I'm supposed to feel about this, but I'm just not sure about where to get started?
Research. Try to find out as much information as you can about what it is you're trying to do. I've spent countless hours teaching myself how to screen print shirts and use vinyl cutters and use just about every form it is to decorate a t-shirt during the process of me starting No Definition. Um, and I also want to just say, get started, try it, see if you like it. And if you don't, move along. And if you do, keep going and keep learning.
If you don't like it, move along. Don't forget to go when you leave. Keep growing, keep learning. I love that. Thank you so much for being a light, for being a Black creative, for being a Black business owner, for promoting other Black people, for taking the time to share your insight on this platform and grace us with some of the best 10 minutes I've had all week. So thank you so much. I truly
Thank
cannot thank
you.
you enough. Yes, ma'am. If you could just one time let the people know where they can get locked in with you on social media if they're wanting to engage or even purchase clothing.
My website is knowdefinition.com. That's KNOW definition.com. You can also find me on Instagram at no.definition and also Facebook no.definition.
All right, this has been another week of expecting better, doing better, and believing better. Remember, life is hard, but self-care doesn't have to be.